What's up, Christ Centered Mental Health community? This is me, David Lee Chu Sarche. I represent Christ Centered Mental Health, the ministry where I talk about mental health awareness from a Christian perspective in order to give you real hope in the name of Jesus to the glory of God the Father. All right, before we get started on this show, we have one announcement for those of you that are new to the channel. Please check out the Christ Centered Mental Health Ministry website. It's www.christcenteredmentalhealth.net. There you can see our statement of faith. You can check out the On Faith and Mental Health blog. You can check out the Christ Center Mental Health Ministry bookstore. You can also find out how to contact either me or someone on my team for 24-hour peer support. And you can also find out how to support the ministry via Patreon, Venmo, or Cash App. All right. As you can tell, this is our episode of Christian Schizo Rant Show, where me and Joseph McDermott talk about controversial issues surrounding faith and mental health. We want to wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing good.
That's good. The first topic I wanted us to talk about is why atheism is bad for mental health. What do you think about that, Joe?
Well, I debated someone on this channel about a year ago. I suppose it was about now, um, and the debate didn't really go that direction where we even I touched on the subject a little bit, here and there, but he didn't even talk about that at all. And
Yeah.
but I think the debate was about whether atheism or Christianity was better for mental health. And I don't I used to be an atheist. Okay, when I was
Yeah.
an atheist, my life was in shambles. I was not happy whatsoever. The stereotype angry atheist, right?
Yeah, I actually feel like a lot of atheists they're pretty weak because they can't handle a little bit of suffering, and so because they have a little bit of suffering, they get angry at God. Like they're like children; they can't handle anything tough.
Well, that was one of the reasons why I was raised a Christian, so to speak, because my father was Protestant and my mother was Catholic. But at the time, as a child, I didn't know the difference between the two. I didn't know much about the faith, and I
Yeah,
knew a little bit, but I never really became born again until after I gave up on atheism. And I didn't even know what an atheist was until I was watching HBO one night, and I watched George Carlin. And at the end of his HBO special, he started ranting about religion, and made sense what he was talking about to me. It made sense, and
yeah,
I ended up becoming an atheist, and I would troll Christians online before troll was even a term, and
yeah.
I would make fun of them, and I'd give them a hard time, and I would give them crap and cuss at them and all that stuff.
You were kind of like me. You were kind of like me when I was very anti-Christian. I would do the same thing. I wasn't an atheist, but I was very anti-Christian. I used to harass and bully Christians and make fun of them, and so I understand that. I actually want to share a scripture about this topic to make my point. It's Romans 1 verse 18 through 20. It says, "For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who by their unrighteousness suppress the truth. For what can be known about God is plain to them, because God has shown it to them. For his invisible attributes, namely his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world in the things that have been made, so they are without excuse." So when
Yeah,
someone claims to be an atheist and they say there is no God, they have to go against the grain of reality, against all that they know to be true in order to make that profession. And that is one of the reasons why I say atheism is bad for mental health, because it causes you to be out of touch with reality.
when I tell atheists that I was a former atheist. A common response I get is, "Oh, you weren't a real atheist," you know. And
Yeah,
you can look at that in a couple ways. Like, first of all, they accuse us of a no Scotsman fallacy
no
often, and
true
they're
Scotsman fallacy.
no true Scotsman fallacy, and they commit that themselves when they say that right there. That when I say I used to be an atheist and now I'm not, you know,
Yeah, exactly.
as if only true atheists are incapable of changing their mind, you know.
Yeah, exactly. What's
Um,
good for the goose is good for the gander.
right.
Like if someone can like yeah, like I understand that. Like I find it pretty funny how like atheists will say you were never truly an atheist. It's like how would you know? It's like it's
Yeah,
kind of
they
like
act like they
people.
know my life before me more than I do somehow. You
Exactly.
know?
It's that's like when you're an atheist, it kind of makes you become a narcissist in a lot of ways because you
Hmm.
think you're always right and no one can tell you anything and you're just so full of yourself. You become very arrogant and
Right.
prideful. Like
You
it's
know,
it's def-
when they say like you're not a true atheist, the thing is like they have a point to a certain degree, is where there is no true atheist.
yeah, that's true.
There
There
is
is
no
no
true atheist. You're
yeah.
all just trying to convince yourselves that there is no God.
Well, it goes
If,
back to
if you only
it goes
if
back
you,
to the scripture I just read. They're not atheists
exactly.
because God has revealed himself to all people so that they're without excuse. So like I
If
said, when they profess to be an atheist, they're going against the grain of reality.
I realize they're skeptical of our beliefs and they have to try to make it sound as ridiculous as possible to prove their
Yeah.
point. But the fact of the matter is, they can't prove their beliefs either.
Yeah,
How
all they
can you
have is
prove?
doubt.
How can you rationalize existence without God?
No.
Try to. You can't do it.
Exactly. Like atheism does not provide the logical foundation for things like logic, ethics, morality, beauty, the uniformity of nature, existence. That like they have no foundation for any of that. Yet they act like they do because they borrow from our worldview just to make their worldview stand on its own.
Well, you have people that call themselves materialists that says all that stuff is chemicals.
Yeah, I know. Like, how is morality chemicals? Like,
Beats me.
you can't you can't you can't like measure love like in a
Yeah,
laboratory
right,
setting.
right.
But like a lot of atheists, they'll sit there and rail against the Bible for having slavery in it. And my question to them is, by what standard did you determine that slavery was wrong? Like, what's wrong with Stardust owning Stardust? And they can never give me
Right,
a straightforward answer to
right.
that.
Yeah, I've heard an atheist told me that animals have morality. It's like, well,
Yeah,
tell that to the scorpion that just ate its own offspring,
yeah, exactly.
or
That's
the
true.
cat. You know,
Yeah,
maybe bugs don't have morality, but animals do. But the cats do the same thing.
cats do the same thing. Yeah, like animals do not have morality. Like,
Right.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, atheism, like I said, atheism, when someone becomes an atheist, this is just something I noticed is when someone becomes an atheist, they become essentially narcissistic.
Hmm.
Like they think they're always right no matter what you tell them. They become very arrogant, they become very self-centered, and it's all about them. Like they're out to pursue their own happiness.
Yeah. And they're so-called. They claim that they're the only ones that use logic and reason, but
Yeah,
from what I gather, they're the group that uses anything but.
exactly. That's true. All right, speaking about this topic, let's go ahead and get into our first video. This video is by a guy named David Wood. Are you familiar with David Wood?
Not really.
Uh, David Wood, he used to be an atheist himself, and he went to prison and he got diagnosed as a clinical psychopath. Now
Okay.
he's one of the biggest Christian apologists.
Wow.
Yeah.
Atheists are champions of science and reason who
Can
have
you hear it?
carefully and
Can you hear
Yes.
it?
Yes.
Okay.
honestly examined the evidence for God's existence and found this evidence sorely lacking. And now that they've thoroughly debunked belief in God, they demonstrate their sober rationality by spending every waking moment on social media posting, Sky Daddy, Sky Daddy, Sky Daddy, Sky Daddy, Sky Daddy.
Have you heard atheists say that?
Yes, I've heard that spaghetti
Yeah.
monster and pink
Yeah.
unicorn.
They always bring that up. Oh, Sky Daddy, invisible pink unicorn, spaghetti monster, like as if that has any bearing on the Christian God. Like it's really a straw man.
Yeah.
But don't let these endless cries of Sky Daddy, Sky Daddy, Sky Daddy, Sky Daddy, Sky Daddy make you think that these intellectual powerhouses have simply been programmed by manipulators using cult tactics. No. These brainiacs are as meticulously rational as a cosmologist riding the calculus coaster at Logic Land on Trekkie's Get In Free Day. At least, that's what they keep telling me. Sadly, I'm not a super smart atheist anymore, so when I try to figure out what's going on, all I see is a handful of academics who will reject any evidence for God, no matter what it is, conditioning a young
That's
generation.
exactly what we were just talking about. Like no matter what you say to an atheist, they will always reject it because they think they're always right. And that's why I say atheism logically leads to narcissism.
Right.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think they're narcissistic indeed. They always act like they can't be told anything. You know, you tell them about Jesus Christ, you tell them about creation, you tell them about
Yeah.
God, and they don't listen to you. And they've been duped by the education system in a lot of ways, and they don't realize that. They think because they've been taught something in college that automatically makes that theory right. But if you look really deep into evolution, it's not true. There is no fossil record of prehistoric lizards shrinking into birds and growing
Yeah,
feathers. There's no
that's
fossil record of
absurd.
that happening.
Yeah. Would you say that when you were an atheist, you were narcissistic?
Yes.
Yeah. Like, yeah. When I was anti-Christian, I was very narcissistic too.
Indeed.
To reject any evidence for God, no matter what it is, while making this young generation think that they're just going where the evidence points. To me, bonehead that I am, it looks like cult tactics. Hey, kid, do you want to be special? Do you want to be part of the smart group? Do you want to feel like you're better than everyone else? Jeepers, that would be swell! Well then, join us, and you'll be part of the smart group. You'll be special.
It is funny how atheists act like that. Like they act like because they are atheists, they're somehow enlightened and they're part of some kind of special club that makes them like smarter than the rest of the population.
Yeah, they think they have some special knowledge that and everybody
Yeah.
is just deceived. But it
It's
just adds
exactly like
it's
it's
just adds to
exactly like a
humility
cult.
in general. Yeah.
It's exactly
Right.
like a cult.
Right.
And that's why atheists have their own churches now.
Right.
Because it's pretty much a cult.
Yeah. It's a religion whether they want to admit it or not.
Exactly, it
It's a
is.
faith. It has no evidence to it whatsoever. It's a belief. It's not factual.
Exactly. Well, it's so funny. Like, I remember one time I was talking to an atheist on Google Hangouts, and I told him the dictionary definition of atheism, which is the doctrine or belief that there is no God. And he flat out told me the dictionary doesn't define words.
That's exactly what it does. That's what
Yeah,
that you define the dictionary by saying what the opposite of what he thinks. I mean, whatever.
Exactly.
Golly, is there anything I need to do? Just one thing. You have to spend all day, every day on social media posting Sky Daddy, Sky Daddy, Sky Daddy, Sky Daddy, Sky Daddy. Richard Dawkins was once asked, if God did exist, what sort of evidence could God give you that would convince you that he exists? Dawkins couldn't think of anything. He said that if God audibly spoke to him, he would dismiss it and conclude that he's hallucinating. He said that even if God wrote a message to him in the stars, he still wouldn't believe in God.
That really doesn't surprise me, to be honest, because no matter what kind of evidence you give to an atheist, they will always shoot it down because their worldview doesn't allow them to accept anything outside their naturalistic perspective.
Right. I think that the fact that we exist at all proves that atheism is an illogical fallacy. How can existence pop out of nowhere with no God to cause it? Just happening like that. Yeah. As perfect as the way that the earth is facing the sun, whether it was closer or farther away, we would not be able to live. Yep. I mean, the chances.
There's actually an age-old philosophical question that says, if there is no God, why is there something rather than nothing?
Right.
Yeah.
Because the message in the stars could have been put there by powerful aliens trying to trick him. Peter Boghossian, the atheist philosopher who was interviewing him, agreed completely. And they're not alone. Let's hear from the great Oxford chemist Peter Atkins, who, like Richard Dawkins before him, was asked about the sort of evidence that could potentially prove him wrong. Here's the charge against him.
I think at one level, some people might accuse you of being so committed to atheism that you'd never be willing to countenance any evidence that might lend support to a creator behind the universe.
And now the question.
I'm just interested, what sort of evidence could science or the physical universe present to you that would make you think, actually, that is evidence that there's a mind behind this?
I find that a very difficult question.
Shouldn't be too difficult.
If I were looking in the Bible for evidence, heaven forbid, I would expect to see maybe increase in entropy is equal to Q reversible divided by temperature.
So, amazing scientific insights in the Bible. That would convince you?
If there was literally an equation in the Bible,
equation
like
in
that.
the Bible, rather than all this wishy-washy, elastic writing that it pervades.
Right.
An equation? That would do it?
So if there was something like that they discovered in the Bible,
then I'd think it was probably a forgery.
Well, exactly. The problem is, would
you
it
hear
actually?
that?
This guy probably thinks that Einstein is a prophet for thinking of E equals MC square.
But that's like he backpedals. So first he said if there was an equation in the Bible, he might possibly say that's evidence. But then when he got questioned on that, he said, "Well, I think it was a forgery." So he's like double speak now.
Well, there's nothing that can convince some people.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, you'd explain it away? Interesting. But what if you saw a message written in the stars?
No.
I mean, is there anything from, is there any kind of evidence in the universe that could make, I mean, if the stars lined up to spell, Peter, please believe in me, it's about time.
I put it down to madness.
So,
and these people are considered the most open-minded people out there. They just follow the evidence wherever it leads. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
This is evidence.
Just huffing and puffing.
What?
That's just them huffing and puffing.
Exactly, they're just huffing and puffing. Like they don't want God to exist so much that they're going to deny any kind of evidence for God's existence because they just don't. They hate God. That's pretty much what it is. They hate God.
What if someone asked these people, these atheists, what if you were alive after you died and you met God and He judged you? Would you believe then?
They probably would think that they're dreaming or something.
Yeah.
Dreaming after death.
If you saw a message written in the stars, you would explain it away, just like Richard Dawkins and Peter Boghossian.
Sounds like, Peter, that there's no evidence that will persuade you away from atheism.
Well, to be honest, I think that's probably the case.
At least he's honest. Not about the evidence, but about the fact that he's going to reject the evidence no matter what it is.
In that sense,
Wow.
do you even have an evidence-based view if you're actually committed to atheism a priori?
No.
Well, I'm predicting that there will be no such evidence. There's not.
Oh, he's predicting that there's no such evidence. But then just a second ago, he just said there would be no evidence that would convince him. So what is he? Is he predicting there's no evidence, or is he saying that no evidence will convince him?
He has faith.
Yeah, he has faith that there's no evidence.
Quite the same thing as being committed to it a priori. I can't.
But you've said there's no
envisage-
evidence that would persuade you otherwise.
I think it's much more likely that I would have gone mad than such evidence would have been provided.
You are not helping yourself here, Dr. Atkins.
So
Can you believe this guy? It has a doctorate's degree, and yet this is evidence that having a degree does not necessarily mean that you're intelligent.
Right.
in principle, it's impossible to ever persuade you that God exists.
I didn't quite say that.
I think you did.
Well, what would persuade you?
I can't conceive of. I suppose even if I died and was confronted with, St. Peter saying, "Welcome to heaven," I'd probably think I was dreaming.
See,
Yeah,
we just talked about this.
You predicted it like a T.
Yeah, exactly. It would be dream. He said he
Wow.
would think he was dreaming.
It's
That
like
is funny.
it's like you knew what I was going to say before he said it.
I know, and I didn't even watch this full video either. To be
Yeah.
honest, like,
How
Even if
predictable.
you died and you were welcomed into heaven by St. Peter, you still wouldn't believe. Keep in mind, these are the same people who assure us that they're committed to going wherever the evidence points. If I didn't know better, which I don't, I might think that what they're really committed to is rejecting evidence that points in a direction they don't like.
that's true. That's
Yes.
exactly what it is. Like, and they do that because they hate God. The very
Amen.
thought of God chaps their hide, pretty much. They
Pretty
don't
much.
want God to exist because they want to live their sinful lifestyle without any repercussions.
Yeah, and they also they don't want to think that a holy God will judge them and basically
Yeah.
send them to hell, even though they're sending themselves to hell. Well, in all honesty,
Exactly. They're sending themselves to hell.
How very scientific of them. So, those were a few clips from a discussion between Peter Atkins and Hugh Ross. During a different discussion, this time with John Lennox, people were texting in questions, and Dr. Atkins was asked if there's any evidence that could convince him that he's wrong.
You're familiar with John Lennox, aren't you?
yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a very
What do
very
you know?
intelligent mathematician, and I think he went to Oxford University.
Yeah, didn't you tell me he debated Richard Dawkins one time?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite debates I've ever seen. Actually, he did a very good job. That was his first one he ever did, I believe. And
Oh,
Richard
really?
I think he substituted for somebody else or something like that. I don't know the story entirely, but I watched the debate though, and it was a great one.
Yeah, I still gotta watch it. I haven't watched it yet.
what new evidence would be sufficient to lead the speakers to adopt the opposite view? So if I perhaps ask that first of you, Peter, is there any kind of evidence that John could bring to bear that would actually make you change your mind and think actually maybe there is a God?
I'll give everyone 5 seconds to make your predictions.
I think that's very interesting. I have asked myself that question previously. Is there any evidence that would flip me into the belief camp and so on? And I simply can't think of any.
Shocker.
I think if I tell myself that if I agreed with some evidence, then it showed that I'd simply gone mad.
If he ever agreed that any evidence supported theism, he would think that he'd gone insane.
See, this just keeps on going right back to what we said in the beginning. Atheism is not good for mental health because, like, it causes you to not think. It causes you to go against the grain of reality. Like, these people, they're so dead set in their atheism that no matter what evidence you give them, they're just going to explain it away by saying, oh, I hallucinated, I was dreaming, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the Bible warns about relying on your own understanding.
Exactly.
So it's a serious question, but I don't think there can be any evidence.
Are you saying your position is unfalsifiable in that sense?
Yes.
Again, at least he's
Wow.
honest about rejecting any evidence that he disagrees with.
Even if I was standing, at the foot of a cross and saw the resurrection before my very eyes, I would put it down to hallucination.
Even if he stood at the foot of the cross and saw the resurrection, he would say he was hallucinating.
What if he was around other people and they witnessed the same thing and they were trying to convince him otherwise? Would he still stick to stupid?
He probably would. Actually, it kind of reminds me of, like, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but in the Gospel of Matthew, right when Jesus resurrected, he appeared to everyone. Like, right before he gave the Great Commission, it says that some doubted even then. So, like, there were some people in this guy's shoes that still doubted what they saw before their very eyes.
Yeah, they're nothing new under the sun, right?
Exactly, nothing new under the sun.
If he saw Jesus rise from the dead, he would explain away what he saw. He would say, I must be hallucinating. Seeing a person rise from the dead wouldn't convince him. Matt Dillahunty said something very similar in his debate with Mike Licona. Mike said, look, if I was beheaded in front of everyone and you saw my decapitated corpse, and then I came back and I walked in and I told you about my trip to heaven, and I told you about someone I met there, someone who had had a private conversation with you, and I knew the details of that conversation, even though the person was dead, would that convince you that something supernatural had occurred? Matt immediately replied, no. The takeaway from all of this.
Matt Dillahunty is the most dishonest man that I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, every time I hear his name, I keep on thinking about that time when he was supposed to debate James White, and he flaked out at the last minute because he said James White was an anti-masker. Now, that's the lamest excuse to duck out of a debate that I've ever heard in my entire life.
Especially when it's not in the same building.
Exactly. Like, they were going to do a virtual debates, and he still ducked out. It's like, what a coward.
He's going to catch a COVID from across the country because of the internet.
Exactly. Like,
unless he wears a mask, of course, then he won't do it. You know?
He probably thought that because he's
right. Well, that's the only logic I can see behind being scared of a virtual debate because of a mask.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Definitely isn't that atheists follow the evidence. The takeaway is that pretty much any evidence can be reinterpreted and explained away by people who are committed to an unfalsifiable position. Atheists aren't educating the rest of the world on how to go where the evidence points. The leaders are giving a tutorial on how to reinterpret and explain away evidence that they don't like, and on how to psychologically condition people by making them think that they're part of some elite group. As long as they go on Twitter and post, "Sky Daddy, Sky Daddy, Sky Daddy, Sky Daddy, Sky Daddy." Meanwhile, the followers are walking, talking, whining proof of that old saying, "There's a sucker born every minute."
It's not based on evidence. It's based on doubt.
Exactly. It's based on doubt. That's all it is. There's no evidence supporting atheism whatsoever.
Right.
And that video just perfectly displays that. They don't have no evidence to back up their claims, and they just want to shoot down any evidence that goes against their worldview because they hate God with a passion.
Exactly.
And you know what? On the day of judgment, they're gonna eat their own words.
Well, let's pray some atheists out there do get saved in the future, but let's face it, most of them are not.
That's true. All right, this next video, I don't know if you ever heard of the Sparkle Creed, but be prepared for cringe.
Okay.
All right, here it goes.
Okay, here's a disturbing new trend. It's the Sparkle Creed. Haven't heard of it? Well, it's something Pastor Ann Helgen from Edina Lutheran Community Church in the United States.
It? Yes.
Okay.
Delivered to her followers. And it's safe to say it's not exactly the Lord's Prayer.
And let us confess our faith today.
First off, I do want to point out, as you could tell, it's clearly a woman that's being the priest, and already off the bat, she's already standing in rebellion against God's word, because God's word condemns having women pastors over a church. Any church that has a woman pastor is a false church, and you should get out of that church right away.
Whoa. How dare you assume his gender?
Oh yeah, this is 2023. I can't assume their gender, but
that's a man right there. That's a man right there.
That's a real man. Yeah.
In the words of the Sparkle Creed, I believe in the non-binary God whose pronouns are plural. I believe in Jesus Christ.
What?
I just laughed because this is ridiculous.
First off, God is not non-binary.
This non-binary term came out like maybe 5 years ago or whatever. It's fairly new. So how did they add this to scripture is beyond me. This is ridiculous.
I know. It's ridiculous. And this actually makes me shudder, because these people that are reciting this creed, they're going to be judged by God for this blasphemy.
Yeah, I feel bad for them.
Yeah.
Who wore a fabulous tunic and had 2 dads and saw everyone as a sibling child of God. I believe in the rainbow spirit who shatters our image of one white light and refracts.
I believe in the rainbow spirit. Really?
This
is hurting your brain.
Yeah, this is why would you go to a church like this? This is bad.
It's not a church, it's a false church.
Yeah.
It into a rainbow of gorgeous diversity.
I get it.
This is more political than spiritual.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. It's more political than spiritual.
And speaking of politics, Ecclesiastes 10:2 says about this issue about whether you should be left or right. So yeah, look it up real quick.
That's true. Oh, Let's Start Asking came on and said, "Hi, wow, I clicked in a crazy place." Sad. Yeah, it is sad. Thank you for joining us, though. But by the way, I want to share something real quick because I know people are going to ask me where I got that women can't be pastors. So let me pull that up real quick. Right here. It's First Timothy chapter 2, verse 12. It says, "I do not permit a woman to teach or to exercise authority over a man. Rather, she is to remain quiet." And for those of you that are going to say that this is based off of culture, verse 13 says, "For Adam was formed first, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman was deceived and became a transgressor." So Paul did not ground this command in culture. He grounded it in creation by saying, "For Adam was formed first and then Eve." So any church that has a female pastor is going directly against the biblical, the Bible's authority. So they're a false church by definition.
Yeah, and by the way, I looked up Ecclesiastes 10:2. It says, "A wise man's heart is at his right hand, but a fool's heart at his left." So that church right there is very left leaning, obviously. And I wonder what they would say about that scripture.
Yeah, exactly. They'll probably just ignore it.
Right.
All right. So the next video, you might find this interesting, Joe. All right. Are you familiar with altar calls?
Can't say I am.
All right.
A lot of preachers will
altar calls are pretty much like in big mega churches. They'll at the end of their sermon they'll play that slow music and ask people to come up to pray the sinner's prayer, and a lot of mega churches have that. And I found this video like very insightful, so let's go ahead and watch it.
Okay.
Down the message of the gospel, and then try to sort of parade people into the pearly gates with some sort of
repeating this prayer, parroting this prayer.
Can you speak to altar calls? And in this, I saw you the other day. You preached with clarity and conviction. I was sitting there filling my Bible from 1 John 5, loaded with notes on what it means to be born of God.
Yeah.
It was clear as day. The state of the lost, the state of the found. There actually was, probably for people in there, hot smoke coming up from
the altar. Just to let you know, the altar call was first invented by this false teacher named Charles Finney. I think it was like back in the 1800s. Like the sinner's prayer is not biblical whatsoever. Like,
right.
Back of their neck. For others, maybe they were looking, saying, "I want everything he's saying right now," and their heart was changing. Of course, you ended with a call to follow Christ. So did the evening service. Can you speak to what I think people get confused about, even and thinking, "Oh, here you go." Then how do people get saved? And they'll attack hyper Calvinism and do all this caricature stuff. What is your heart for as a preacher when your church is faithfully bringing people, saying, come in, hear the word of God, see the people of God? And it's not be like the world so that they'll be attracted. It's this is different. How are you as a faithful gospel preacher ending that very weighty message for the unbeliever?
Well, let me begin with what I'm not doing, and then I'll tell you what I am doing.
Can you hear this, Joe?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay.
What I'm not doing is asking them to get up out of their seat and walk forward and repeat a prayer, because no one in the Bible was ever told to get up out of their seat and walk forward. So it's not a bit.
That's like it's kind of weird how we never see in the Bible. Like, I remember when I used to go to this big mega church called the Vineyard, they used to at the end of the sermon, Pastor Corey would have everybody put their heads down and close their eyes, and he'd ask, "Who wants to be saved by saying the sinner's prayer?" And people would have to raise their hand, and then he called them up onto the stage, and then he had them pray the sinner's prayer. Nowhere in the Bible do you see anyone evangelizing like that. And during that time, they'll have this really slow, sappy music playing to like kind of move people's hearts, play on their heartstrings. It's very emotionally manipulation. Like it's not biblical at all.
Right.
Biblical methodology. It is a man-made methodology that was either started or perfected by Charles Finney, who was, I think, an unconverted man who preached, who denied justification by faith alone, and which is the hinge of the gospel.
Totally.
And so it's and then it was turned into the Sawdust Trail, and other people. I don't think everyone who asks you to get up and walk forward is a heretic, but I think it's not the best methodology. I'll put it that way in the kindest terms. I think that the best way is you need to be saved in your seat. You need to be saved in the parking lot. You need to be saved on the front steps of the church. You need to be saved talking.
When I first became Reformed, this actually used to bother me because like when I was going to the Vineyard, I was really big on telling people to say the sinner's prayer. And when I first became Reformed, it bothered me because I would always ask like my pastor, if we don't get people to say the sinner's prayer, then what do we do? And the simple answer to that is just preach the gospel, and then God will draw those who are meant to be saved into the fold. All we need to do is be faithful in preaching the gospel. We don't need to emotionally manipulate people. We don't need to do all these gimmicks. Like, just preach the gospel.
Amen.
Yeah.
To the pastor after the service is over. You need to be saved talking to one of the elders in the church, out in the lobby, or slipping back into the worship center. You need to be saved right now, wherever you are, right now, this very moment. And so I think the altar call can become very manipulative. It can lend itself to that. It can be more dependent upon the music than upon the truth. That's a
good point. I don't know if your church did this, but when I was at the Vineyard, the music that they would play during the altar call was very slow and very, like I said, it was pulling at people's heartstrings. Like it was always this soft tune that made you feel like it was. The Vineyard was very like big on emotions and I remember when I was going to the Vineyard, I used to there was times where I would start crying because of the music. And I would equate that to being the move of the Holy Spirit, but really it was just the music.
Yeah, it's just the music playing in your heartstrings and you crying about it, but it has nothing that's no bearing on your testimony or salvation whatsoever.
Exactly.
Kind of an emotional experience. And in the past, I've been the guy who stood at the front to receive people for an altar call.
So you used to do that?
Oh, I used to do that. Absolutely. And I would then take them out and try to get the information on them real quick. And the pastor wanted me to bring them back in so they can stand in front of the church.
And everybody welcomes them in.
And everybody welcomes them in. And these are the victories of the Sunday. Of the service. And we measure.
It kind of reminds me. I used to hear all the time. Some church will talk about, oh, we did this event at such and such beach, and they'll talk about how 3,000 people said the sinner's prayer and were baptized in the ocean. And they were baptized in the ocean. It's like, well, out of that 3,000, how many of them were truly converted?
Yeah, they don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
measure the success of the sermon by how many people walked forward. Now, to create a better response, we'll also add to, it's not just that you walk forward to be saved. You do walk forward now to be baptized. You walk forward to join the church. You walk forward to rededicate your life. You walk forward if you're surrendering to missions. You walk forward if you're surrendering to the ministry. And we're just trying to get as many people, as much foot traffic, as many people walking forward to make it easy for someone to step out. Well, I don't even know what the purpose of all this is. And it would take place in like 60 seconds. And so I'm bringing these people back out and putting the cards in the pastor's hand. And I feel like I am an accomplice to the crime. I feel like I'm driving the getaway car from holding up the bank. And I just told him, I said, I can't do this anymore. My conscience is killing me. These people don't even know what they're doing. And we are giving them the impression that they're in the kingdom. So now they're going to be even harder to reach with the gospel because now they think they're saved when they're.
And that's one of the biggest problems about the sinner's prayer, because you have a whole bunch of people that are living their lives like devils, but they think that they're saved because at one time in their life they prayed this prayer, and now they think they are good because they prayed that. They're looking at that prayer as their salvation, but then there's no heart change, there's no lifestyle change.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. They bear no good fruit.
Exactly.
They're not saved. At least they knew they were lost before all of this. I know I'm speaking in broad, painting this with broad brushstrokes, and there can be people who are converted in situations like this. I do admit this. But, however, I mean, there are some scales here, and you have to balance them.
I honestly believe, because I agree with him there, that some people can be saved from praying the sinner's prayer. But I think if someone's saved, they're saved in spite of the sinner's prayer instead of because of the sinner's prayer.
Right.
Yeah.
The pluses and the minuses and the pros and the cons, and I think the cons far outweigh the pros.
Meaning the Lord will save someone in the simple conversation with the pastor, in their seat, pierced to the heart, at the steps of the church, saying, I've got to go talk to someone. My heart is stirred.
Yeah.
Rather than the manipulated, coerced.
Absolutely.
The person who's going to act is going to act.
Absolutely. Consti, what I did for years, I just, after I preached, we would take up the offering, there would be a music interlude, and I would step back in the pulpit and I would just say, I don't want anyone to leave here today without Christ. Mm-hmm. And if you would like to talk to someone about Christ, we want to talk to you. Now, I'm going to end this service in a word of prayer. I'm going to walk over to this side aisle. I'm going to go out the side aisle, and I'm going to be in the lobby. If you want to talk to me about where you are with the Lord, you are the reason I went to seminary. You are the reason I left the bank. You are the reason I left politics. I'm going to be looking for you. I want you to be looking for me. And I will be the last person to leave here today. And I will stay as long as anyone wants to talk. Now,
see, that's a good pastor. I think that's how every pastor, that's the kind of attitude every pastor should have.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Over here, I'm also going to have some other men who love God and would love to talk to you, to answer any questions you would have. And if you would rather talk to them than talk to me,
how many pastors do you really think actually have that kind of mentality, though?
Not as many as there should be.
Yeah, I know. It's sad. But it reminds me of something Paul Washer once said. He said, America's not gospel ignorant. He said America's pastors aren't gospel ignorant. They're gospel hardened.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Super. That's fine. And just come up to them. And as I dismiss us here in a moment, and as most people will be going out the back doors, you just come up and talk to one of them, and they'll be looking for you. And Consti, I've had the privilege of leading so many people to Christ that way. I also had different people who were members of our church. They were just like bird dogs. They were like sheep dogs.
Going after people and
Yeah.
helping and
Yeah. So they're meeting people before the service and they're talking to people. And then when the service is over, they're talking to people.
By the way, the other guy, Costi Hind, do you know who that is? By the way, just wondering.
I actually have seen him interview other pastors and stuff before, but I'm not too familiar with him.
He's Benny Hinn's nephew.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He recently left. He used to be big in Benny Hinn's ministry, and recently, about a couple years ago, he left. He left his lavish lifestyle, and he actually gave his life truly over to Christ, and now he exposes his uncle's work.
That's good.
Yeah.
Just had a sense, first of all, very friendly, outgoing, engaging personality, but they also had almost just like spiritual antenna up to detect if someone might not know the Lord or if someone really needs to talk to the pastor. And so they're like Andrew bringing his brother Simon Peter to the Lord. I mean, how good is that? So I'm standing there in the lobby and these guys are bringing people to me. This is just like catching fruit falling off a tree. And then I'm also looking around to see who might be hesitant to come up to me. And it might be a businessman. He's over there in the corner. And he's waiting for people to file through. Well, I've already talked to some of these church people 6 times today. Yeah. I mean, I've talked to them more than I've talked to my wife today.
Well, go ahead and end that video there because it's like kind of getting redundant.
Yeah. It was a good
what?
It was good that he has such passion to reach people in such a way instead of such a cheap way like the sinner's prayer, you know.
Yeah. By the way, let's start asking Seth. I don't know if altar calls are biblical or not, but they are very common in Pentecostalism. Yes, that's true. They are very common in Pentecostal, even in charismatic churches, charismatic mega churches too. And it's completely not biblical. Like I said, like it came from that heretic Charles Finney, and like Steve Lawson always says, if it's new, it ain't true. And like, there's nothing biblical about altar calls. Saint Questions says, nice to meet you. Nice meeting you too. Thank you for joining the stream.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So the next video is from our buddy Matt Walsh. This story is ridiculous. You're going to like, okay, here it is.
2 years ago, a woman named Shayla Workman was
you hear it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Driving in her car with her 2 children, aged 3 years old and 1 year old, near an apartment complex in Nashville, Tennessee. And that's when a man in his 20s, Shaquille Taylor, opened fire. He shot the roof of the car at least 2 times as Workman drove away. And the attack was not random. In fact, the motive couldn't have been clearer. Workman had recently testified against, quote, someone he cared about. And what was that man's crime? Well, as Workman put it, quote, his brother was locked up for shooting at me initially in May. A few months later, on August 2nd, Taylor found Workman at the River Chase Apartments and also started shooting at her. Quote, the bullet hit the top of my car and bounced off. Had I not been driving, it would have gone through the window and shot my son in his head. Authorities then arrested Taylor and he confessed. Now,
real quick, just to ask you, what do you think ended up happening to this guy after all this?
He should have got arrested, right?
Wait, okay, I'm gonna wait till you find out.
Okay.
What happened next is not simply a scandal or a national tragedy, although it is both of those things. It is a breakdown of law and order that is so stark and so completely illogical in every possible respect that today members of both political parties are calling for changes to the law in Tennessee before more people die. And those changes and more changes need to happen immediately, as we will see. This is a problem that exists in many states, even though nobody in the media really talks about it. But it should be the story that leads every newscast tonight. We have hit the absolute nadir of BLM mandated equity in the judicial system, and this needs to be the end of it. It just does. So let's get into the details here. Shaquille Taylor, after shooting at a moving vehicle with a mother and her children inside, apparently in retribution for that woman's testimony in a criminal proceeding, did not go to prison for the rest of his life. He didn't receive any kind of lengthy prison sentence at all, for that matter. In fact, he received no prison sentence. Incredibly, Shaquille Taylor never even went to trial. Instead, in May of this year, less than 2 years after he started shooting at Shayla Workman's car, Shaquille Taylor was released from jail and his charges were dismissed. Now, the judge who made that decision was Angelita Blackshear Dalton, who happens to be a Democrat and also happens to be the first black woman elected to a judgeship in her county. Why did Judge Dalton dismiss the charges against Taylor? Well, 3 court-appointed doctors testified that Taylor was supposedly too incompetent to stand trial.
Did you hear? What do you think of that?
What?
Yeah.
What do they mean by that? What is he? No, this.
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
they deemed him incompetent to stand trial, so therefore they just let him off the hook.
Why did those 3 doctors say something like that?
Like, I'm not sure, but it's ridiculous. Like, if he has first off, I want to say this, like, before anybody starts saying, "Oh, this is why mentally ill people should be locked up," I want you to know, like, most mentally ill people are more of a danger to themselves than they are to other people, and most of us are more likely to be victims of violent crime than to be the perpetrators of violent crime. So I want to get that out there right now so that people don't look at this case and paint us all with a broad brush.
Despite the fact that he was mentally ill or not, there was clearly a motive here, and he knew what he was doing. He should go to prison.
Yeah, he should go to prison. I think is, because the judge was a black woman and he's a black guy, I think she had leniency on him. That's just my honest opinion.
Yeah.
Apparently, Taylor had a kindergarten level IQ because he developed some kind of brain infection as an infant, and so case dismissed. Now,
like,
wait a minute, you might say.
honestly, if he was deemed incompetent to stand trial, that still does not mean he should just be let out on the street. I remember years ago, my mother got in trouble with the law, and she was deemed incompetent to stand trial, and they didn't let her go out on the street. They put her in a mental hospital. And what she did was not nearly as bad as what this guy did. So if my mother can be put in a mental hospital after being deemed incompetent to stand trial, why didn't they do that to this guy?
Politics, most likely.
Exactly. Black Lives Matter.
Okay. Just because someone is incompetent to stand trial, why does that necessarily mean that they should be released from jail?
Exactly.
This guy shot at a moving vehicle with children inside.
Now, I don't think he should be in jail or prison if he's mentally ill. He should be in a mental hospital, because prison and jail are not good places for people with mental illness. It's just not.
Yeah, no kidding.
On top of that, he supposedly is mentally incompetent, they're telling us. Doesn't this seem like precisely the kind of person we don't want roaming the streets?
Exactly.
Now, as you might imagine, Shayla Workman was asking that same question when she noticed Shaquille Taylor was back on the streets. Here's what she told local reporters, quote, "He had a low bond shooting at me and my 2 babies at the time, and you let him out because he's too incompetent? But you can't be too incompetent if you're admitting to shooting at everybody."
Yeah, he admitted to he confessed, and he still got off. Like, this is ridiculous. I know that Black Lives Matter people are always talking about white people being privileged and they get away with everything. But what about this? Why don't they say anything about this?
Yeah, it's basically a double standard.
Exactly.
So, how do we square that circle exactly? Here's the explanation from the Associated Press, which layers on the legalese. As of right now, according to the AP, in order to keep somebody like Taylor locked up under these circumstances, Tennessee law requires that at least 2 doctors certify that Taylor's mental illness, quote, causes him to be a substantial risk of serious harm to himself or others.
What?
The doctors must also certify that there are, quote, no other less restrictive means than commitment. And apparently, in this case, doctors didn't certify all of that. They didn't establish, somehow, a clear link between Taylor's mental illness and his propensity for violence, and so the judge let him go. Wow. Supposedly, the judge had no other option.
What?
I just said, wow.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, huh?
Yeah.
Well, it didn't take long for the consequences of the judge's decision to become very clear. A week ago, on Tuesday, just about 6 months after his charges were dismissed, Shaquille Taylor shot and killed an 18-year-old freshman music student at Belmont University named Jill.
He actually went out again and shot at someone else after he got exonerated.
This time he went to prison, didn't he?
Wait.
Ludwig.
This time he went.
Now, Ludwig was out walking on a track at the Edge Hill Community Memorial Gardens Park, just steps from the campus in what is supposed to be a nice part of town. The part of town in the middle of the day, you're going for a walk. You don't imagine that your life is in any kind of jeopardy whatsoever. But Jillian Ludwig's life was in jeopardy, unbeknownst to her, because that is when Shaquille Taylor decided to start shooting at moving vehicles again, which, as we have discussed, is something that he has a well-documented history of doing. And one of those bullets hit Jillian Ludwig. She somehow laid on the track for roughly an hour before anyone found her, even though she was very close to a police precinct, and shortly afterwards, she was dead. Watch.
Wow.
We are bringing back our biggest discount of the year.
On.
Get 50% off new annual Daily Wire Plus memberships.
She was a promising young musician who loved to perform. Now, 18-year-old Jillian Ludwig has been senselessly killed while jogging in a park. Jillian's parents, Jessica and Matt, can't make sense of what happened. Just a few months ago, Jillian moved from her New Jersey home to Nashville to study music business at Belmont University.
What kind of world do we live in where a girl just taking a jog on a sunny day is in life-threatening danger by a man who should not have been on the streets?
Jillian was killed when a stray bullet hit her in the head just off campus. She died 2 days later in the hospital. Police say the shot was fired by this man, 29-year-old Shaquille Taylor. Surveillance video shows the suspect opening fire on a passing car. What's angering Jillian's parents is the fact that just last April, he was arrested for shooting at a woman and her 2 kids. But the charges were dropped after he was deemed incompetent to stand trial.
That report and most reports on this case managed to undersell Shaquille Taylor's criminal history. The shooting incident involving the mother and her 2 children happened 2 years ago, but it wasn't the only serious crime that Taylor committed. According to local news channel WSMV4, quote, Taylor's background also includes charges for vehicle theft, robbery, handgun possession, and multiple aggravated assault charges. One affidavit said he shoved a man to the ground back in 2015 before stealing money from him. Taylor's most recent aggravated assault charge was in May of this year, but the DA's office did not prosecute.
So this guy
is dangerous, man.
Yeah, this guy obviously has a very bad history of violence, and yet he's out in the streets, like they're just letting him roam free.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, this is this is just more evidence of the sinfulness of man, because we got to be careful not to judge him too harshly, because like the saying goes, without the grace of God, there go I. This could be any one of us without God's grace in our lives.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So this is not someone who only broke the law once or twice. This is a repeat offender, a repeat violent offender. Tennessee's News Channel 5 took a closer look into why exactly he was allowed back on the street, and this is what they report. Watch.
The order from Judge Angelita Blackshear Dalton in May released Taylor after hearing from 3 different doctors. One said he would not understand courtroom discussions. Another said he was incompetent because of his intellectual disability and language impairment. A doctor also said Taylor could not be involuntarily committed because he did not seem suicidal, and repeatedly denied any homicidal ideations or any plans to harm jail staff or other inmates.
Like he could be
Ever heard of
trusted.
lying?
Yeah, exactly. Like he could be trusted.
Unbelievable. They believe that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, he's not homicidal even though he's homicidal?
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like you really believe what a murderer has to say.
I know. It's ridiculous.
Like I swear the justice system just gets dumber and dumber every year.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay, so the doctor says that Taylor denied having any homicidal ideation or any plan to harm jail staff or other inmates. Just to remind you, he tried to kill someone. Like he actually did that in real life. He shot at a person. But when they asked him if he had homicidal ideations, he said no, and that was good enough to effectively exonerate him. This is how the system works now, apparently.
So he successfully got exonerated after 2 attempted. Well, one was an actual murder, and one was an attempted murder, and he got exonerated twice.
What a shame.
Yeah, I know. This is ridiculous. What kind of world do we live in?
It's like the Twilight Zone or something that's been going on last,
I know. Exactly.
You shoot at someone and try to kill them, and then they ask you, are you homicidal? Well, no, I'm not. Well, okay, then. Never mind. To call this outrageous would be a vast understatement. Now, you've heard some excerpts from the doctor's reports that Judge Dalton relied on. Here's one of them in more detail. Dr. Mary Elizabeth Wood, in a forensic report submitted for the case, declared that, quote, in my opinion, Mr. Taylor does not possess adjudicative competence due to his intellectual disability and language impairment. He understands the allegations and recognizes that his liberty interests as the accused are at risk. He was easily confused with basic questions. There was limited ability to provide his attorney with...
What I'm wondering, like, is he really incompetent to stand trial, or is he just a really good actor? Because like it took a lot of forethought and planning for him to do what he did. Like, so, and he obviously had intentions of killing people. So I'm not quite buying this whole incompetent stand trial mess.
Yeah, in a sane world, this wouldn't fly, but
exactly,
it's getting worse and worse.
Relevant information about his case. Poor guy, he's confused. He doesn't understand that he should not shoot at a woman and her children. So let's just release him back on the street where he can shoot at more people.
Exactly. Like I said, if my mother can be deemed incompetent to stand trial for a lesser charge than what this guy was charged with, and she was put in a mental hospital, why isn't this guy being put in a mental hospital?
Well, that's where he belongs.
I know that is exactly where he belongs. And actually, according to the law, if you get deemed incompetent to stand trial, you're supposed to be put in a mental hospital until they can restore you to competency.
Right. But they apparently did that in 1 second of just a couple questions that can easily be falsified.
Yeah. Like I said, like Black Lives Matter are always talking about white privilege this, white privilege that. But what about black privilege?
I'm not touching that one with the 10-foot pole, man.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a killer Black Friday deal, I've got one for you. A free Moto 5G phone from Pure Talk. No gimmicks, no...
I think we can end that video there because we don't need to hear his advertisement. What do you think of that story?
I want that. I want a little bit of that education system he was advertising, man. I really want that.
You also know that education system. Yeah. Oh, LJ just joined the chat. Thank you for joining, LJ.
How you doing, LJ?
Yeah. All right. So the next one, we're going to talk a little bit about narcissism. Like, have you heard of the movie Emperor's New Groove? Have you seen it?
Emperor's New Groove, huh? No.
Yeah. Have you? It's a cartoon movie.
But he also believed.
Yeah, hold on. It's about are you familiar with narcissism?
Yes, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah, I think we all have dealt with a narcissist from time to time. I know, like my most recent ex was a complete narcissist, and I dealt with her for like probably like 10 years of my life. I dealt with her.
Yeah, I've been close to some narcissists in my life, and it's not easy dealing with their their negativity and constant bringing you down type of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, the title of this video is going to be about self-love versus narcissism. There is a difference. It's not wrong to love yourself, but when it turns into narcissism or pride, as the Bible calls it, like that's when it becomes sinful.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, of course, we're all supposed to love ourselves and take care of ourselves, but we shouldn't be narcissistic.
Exactly.
Cusco.
Emperor Cusco?
Long live Cusco!
What is the difference between self-care and self-love and ego or narcissism? And it comes down to how you treat other people.
I think Cusco is choosing to manipulate, and in acting it out, he's starting to feel it. So
I'm actually pretty familiar with this movie because when I was younger, I used to love this movie, Emperor's New Groove. It's about an emperor who was very narcissistic. He used to take advantage of people as an emperor. And I don't remember exactly the storyline, but I remember like some witch or she turns him into a llama to teach him a lesson in not being so narcissistic. That's kind of basically the story, but yeah. Are you there?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
On it. That's still who he is.
Did you hear the video?
Yeah, I can hear it.
All right.
But there are like cracks in the armor.
Sharp rocks at the bottom?
Most likely.
Bring it on.
Hello and welcome to Cinema Therapy. I'm Alan Seawright. I'm a professional filmmaker who needs therapy.
And I'm Jonathan Decker, licensed therapist who loves movies. What are we doing today?
I would like you to react to a film. It's an animated one.
I love it. You always draw this part out.
It's The Emperor's New Groove.
Okay, thank you. Which is fantastic.
It's such a great movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Disney's
experimental period had some experiments, and this one, the lab blew up.
Just to let you know, this movie came out. This movie came out way before Disney started going really bad, so you don't have to worry about anything gay in this movie or anything woke in this movie. This came out back when Disney was still pretty good.
The llama came out of it.
Wait, did the lab actually blow up? Or are you just
yes, the Disney lab where they make films out of chemicals. Let's just watch.
You there, Joe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some
okay.
This is his story. Well, actually my story. That's right. I'm that llama. The name is Cusco. Emperor Cusco. I was the world's nicest guy and they ruined my life for no reason. Oh, is that hard to believe? Look,
Doesn't that sound very familiar? Like narcissists always think that they're the good guy and that they're the victim of everybody else's narcissism or hate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They always play the victim, and they're very good at it, And
exactly.
It's pretty sad that they have a mentality like that.
Yeah, I know. My ex was well, she was always playing the victim. I was always the bad guy. She was always the good guy. And narcissists are very good at manipulating you and making you think that you are the bad guy.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, like an encounter I had with a narcissist is like, I sorry, man, it just slipped my mind right now. So go ahead and move on with this video. I'm sorry.
All right.
Tell you what, you go back a ways, before I was a llama, and this will all make sense.
And then we get super meta, and it's like film rewinding and doing all kinds of things, because why not just put that in a kid's cartoon?
So, is Kuzco a narcissist? We will explore this, or is he an egomaniac? I'm assuming this is what you wanted me to look at.
This is exactly what I want you to look at.
Okay.
You guessed the question.
Nailed it. He's definitely showing signs of specialness, of seeing himself as special and different and unique from everybody else, which is one of the symptoms of narcissism. When you get into the story and he says,
I was the world's nicest guy, and they ruined my life for no reason.
Is classic narcissistic thinking. And yes, you guessed it. By extension, all children are narcissists.
That's interesting. What do you think about that? All children are narcissists.
I don't know about that. I mean, I don't think they're not every single one of them, but I think when you're younger, you tend to be more like that than when you should grow out of it at some point.
Children are very much all about me. I want. But yeah, you're right. When you get older, you should grow out of that.
Yeah, good one.
Oh, come on. I'm triggered by these ads.
Okay, this is the real me. Not this. This. Not this. Winner, loser. Okay, see this palace? Everyone in it is at my command. Check this out. Butler. Chef. Theme song guy.
The edits in this film, it almost feels Edgar Wright, even though it's pre-Edgar Wright.
It is, yeah. It's super fun.
He's the Alpha, the Omega, A to Z. And this perfect world will spin around his every little whim. Cause his perfect world...
Doesn't this guy seem to have like the good life?
Yeah.
Begins and ends with me. What's his name?
Smashes them so he can do his little dance. One of the reasons this movie has aged so well is because the humor isn't pop culture based of the moment.
Right.
With the exception of one thing up here where he does like Lord of the Dance from Michael Flatley.
Yes.
And a moonwalk, but moonwalk is timeless.
No! You threw off my groove.
I'm sorry, but you've thrown off the Emperor's groove.
Sorry.
You were saying?
What's his name?
I just love how the giant muscle-bound guy comes in and he's this erudite British.
Yeah. Kuzco here, obviously, the world revolves around him.
Yes.
Now the question is asked: Do I think
That's typical narcissistic thinking? Like narcissists tend to think that everything revolves around them. They're the most important person in the whole world. Everybody loves them. Like I know. Like my ex used to think that everybody loved her, that she was the most. She actually told me on numerous different occasions that the general public were a bunch of idiots, and that she acted like she was the smartest person in the whole entire world.
Right. Yeah, I remember an encounter I had. It's like they tell you things like. I had it for a second again. They keep slipping my mind. I'm sorry, man. I had it. I was thinking about it while he was talking, and then when I was about to remember, it just went away, dude. I'm sorry.
Well, if you think of it, you can interrupt the video, and I'll pause it so you can say what you want to say.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Would I diagnose him as a narcissist? Yes. I mean, if you've seen the film, you look at what narcissistic personality disorder is. It's a belief in your own innate specialness over everybody else, that you deserve special treatment, that you're not truly responsible for anything that goes wrong.
Oh, I remember
and
now.
a lack of sympathy.
I remember now. It's like, with this particular person, I would get in arguments with them quite often, and it was like they kept telling me things like, I just can't deal with this anymore. I might go to the hospital and things like that, and it's just like, well, maybe if you respected me more and didn't treat me like absolute garbage, we wouldn't get in arguments, you know?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
like it's like, you know, if you just cut that part out, we wouldn't get in arguments so much, you know. Like, but the way
Yeah.
like treat me like you treat strangers great, but people who are close to you not so much, you know.
That's kind of like how it was with my relationship with my dad, because like he would start arguments with me and treat me like crap, and then he'd wonder why we never got along. He never took accountability for his own behavior, and he would always like act like I was the bad guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's typical narcissism.
Empathy or empathy for the feelings of others. But the question is asked, could he have been anything else with nature versus nurture, with the nurture that he received?
The way he was raised to be the emperor and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
There's a reason monarchies
Oh,
are usually not...
that's a good question. Do you think narcissists can change?
Yes, I think they can, because I don't know if I would be diagnosed as a straight up one, but I think I had tendencies, especially when I was atheistic, you know. When I didn't have no belief in God, I believed in myself and myself alone, and whatever I said went, you know. So, like we were discussing earlier, you know, that's just.
I believe the Holy Spirit can change anyone.
Amen.
Yeah.
Great.
Could he have turned out to be anything else? Probably not. Now the question arises, can narcissists change? Let's explore that through the context of the film versus reality.
Okay.
My village?
Oh, yeah. You got a pretty sweet little setup there on top of that hill, don't ya?
Yeah, my family has lived on that hilltop for the last 6 generations.
Uh-huh. So tell me, where do you find you get the most sun?
Oh, I'd say just on the other side of those trees. When the sun hits that ridge just right, these hills sing.
Well, that settles it.
Really?
Yep, problem solved. Thanks for coming.
That's it? That's all you wanted me for?
I just needed an insider's opinion before I okayed this spot for my pool.
Your pool?
Booyah! Welcome to Cuzco-topia, my ultimate summer getaway, complete with water slide.
What?
Isn't it great? It's my birthday gift to me. I'm so happy.
He's so narcissistic that he's talking about destroying someone's home just so he can build his own mansion and put a pool there for his birthday.
Yeah, because he has no empathy. He can't put himself in other people's shoes and realize
Exactly. That's like the narcissists that I've known in my life. That's exactly how they were. They had no empathy for others. They just thought about themselves and their own happiness, and they didn't care. They didn't care whose lives they destroyed to get to their happiness.
Right.
I don't understand how this could happen.
Well, let me clear it up for you. At my birthday celebration tomorrow, I give the word, and your town will be destroyed to make way for this. So if I were you, I'd pick up some change of address forms on the way home.
But where will we live?
Don't know, don't care. How's that?
Oh, but wait, you can't.
When I give the word, your little town thingy will be bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Oh, wait.
Boo-hoo. Oh yeah, everything was going my way.
I think there is an alternate timeline where David Spade is the greatest comedian of his generation. And the reason I say that is because David Spade just needs the right script.
Yes.
And he's done a lot of crappy script movies.
Yes.
Because his ability to deliver on a sharply written script is, as evidenced by this, almost unmatched.
What's wrong with red curly hair?
Why are you getting upset?
I have red curly hair.
He manages to pull a trick that is really, really difficult, which is being a smarmy, arrogant, unbelievably irritating jerk and making you want to watch more of it.
Yeah.
That is a magic trick, and David Spade is one of very few people who can pull it off consistently.
Yeah.
Wieners,
Christmas too.
Jams, Jormy.
I'm gonna skip this.
I'm not on my parents' health insurance
Oh.
anymore, and I work for myself doing a bit of everything. So I found a plan for just.
What is the difference between self-care and self-love and ego or narcissism? And it comes down to how you treat other people. Giving yourself a birthday present in and of itself is not emotionally unhealthy. It's not ego and it's not nasty.
Sure.
It's a beautiful thing. It's his lack of care or regard for the people around him.
Right.
And
What do you think? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree with that. Their lack of awareness of how they treat other people and how it affects other people. They simply don't care. They simply don't
Yeah.
care. It's all about them, and you can't disagree with them, criticize them, or it's just going to bring in more trouble.
Exactly.
But they'll do it to you though. That's all they do is criticize you and build and bring you down and things like that.
Exactly. Like there's nothing inherently wrong with giving yourself a gift for your birthday, but when you give yourself a gift at the expense of someone else, that's when it becomes narcissism, and that's when it becomes evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
narcissists frequently do what Cusco is doing. Their interest in others lies solely with how this person can serve my interests, right? I mean, it's exaggerated for the sake of the movie, but is it? I mean, the whole "I'm going to kick you out so I can build what I want to build" there. I was saying that's an exaggerated supervillain thing. And I'm like, no, that happens all the time.
That happens literally all the time.
So we have super exaggerated supervillains in real life. So he is definitely a classic narcissist because it's the lack of empathy that really makes it. You can have ego without true narcissism if you possess empathy, which is why, going back to our Tony Stark episode, it's hard to fully classify Tony as narcissistic personality disorder because even when he's self-absorbed, he's not completely devoid of compassion for other people.
Right.
Whereas Cusco, that's where he's at right now.
Not great.
For the last time, it was not a kiss.
Whatever you call it. It was disgusting. And if you would have done what I ordered you to do in the first place, we all could have been spared your little kiss of life.
This ongoing bit about him putting the fire out is so great.
Palace. I'll have Yzma change me back, and then I'll start construction on Cuscotopia. Oh, yeah.
Okay, now look, I think we got off on the wrong foot here. I just think if you really thought about it, you'd decide to build your home on a different hilltop.
And why would I do that?
Because deep down, I think you'll realize that you're forcing an entire village out of their homes just for you.
And that's bad.
That kind of makes me. I have a question. Do you think that it's possible to reason with a narcissist?
It's very, very difficult, and it's almost near impossible.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Like it's how can you reason with someone who always thinks they're right, that doesn't want to look at any evidence that goes against what they believe, and it's very difficult to reason with them.
Right.
Like that, like that's like a typical atheist right there. Like again, atheism leads to narcissism.
Yeah.
I'll stop that there. Like, oh, any thoughts about that video?
No, not really.
All right, the next one is going to be interesting for us because it's about a guy with schizophrenia, like we have. But this guy is saying how he got beyond schizophrenia symptoms. So this ought to be interesting. I haven't seen the whole video, so I'm not sure exactly where he's going with this. Have you seen the whole video?
No, I saw just the first half.
All right. So this ought to be interesting. All right.
Welcome to the Morning Mist 99 Above and Beyond Schizophrenia. We're retired, but we're going to get the job done. So I want to talk about a request that
Can you hear this video?
Yes.
somebody placed in the comment section asking me. That is to talk about my experience with overcoming the hallucinations such as auditory, visual, or
Like
thought broad.
right off the bat, like I'm kind of nervous about this video because what I'm wondering what he means by overcoming schizophrenia. Is this going to be one of those things where he's going to say he was healed of schizophrenia? 'Cause I hope that's not where he's going with this, but
Right.
Broadcasting. Now, I talked about some of these in previous videos, but I want to expand on this, and I think it wasn't a particular video dealing with this. It may have been in some other video, but anyway, I want to expand on it and make it its own thing. So, the first thing is, and I'm gonna have to touch on some things that I already talked about, but the first thing is, in order for you to even begin this kind of
My background is Cuban Chinese. I
super
grew up not
trigger.
knowing anybody was sick, so I currently
They're giving me anxiety.
effort,
they're giving you anxiety.
you have to recognize that you are ill. That's the first step. If you don't recognize that there is a battle to be fought, you're not even going to be able to fight.
Okay, so I do kind of agree with that. Like with schizophrenia, it is a battle that you. It almost is like a battle with schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder. What do you think?
Every second.
Yeah, every second of the day, like you have to battle. Like, well, you don't get hallucinations, but you have to battle delusions. You have to battle paranoia. Like battle mood swings.
The disorganized thoughts is a big one. You know, I do suffer from that greatly.
Yeah, that's your disorganized thoughts. Yeah.
So that's the first and foremost. But since we're here, I assume and presume that we already have that understanding. Now, obviously, those symptoms, hallucinations, and thought broadcasting and other symptoms of schizophrenia I've experienced, and I've got through them without medication. In fact, when I stopped medications, I actually made the biggest progress that.
Wait, did he just say he stopped medications and that's when he made the biggest progress?
That's exactly what he said.
Wow. Okay, first off, okay, so I guess he is going to go down that route and say that he was healed of mental illness. Like I hate testimonies like this because what people like him are essentially doing is encouraging people with mental illness like schizophrenia to stop taking their medication. And that is the most dangerous thing in the world to do for someone with schizophrenia or bipolar or whatever. Like medication is something that we need to be stable. So already I'm not liking this video.
Right.
Medication didn't afford me over the years. So I'm not against medications. Don't misunderstand.
Oh, he's not
I am
against
for them.
medication.
I support them. And in fact, I will make another video talking about my thought on medications and so forth. So I'll do another video detailing all that. But I do think that they have their place in treatment. But I still chose to abandon them, and that's largely in part because they were not working, and they end up.
Okay, I hear this a lot from people, like with mental illness. They say they gave up on medication because they weren't working, and I'll tell you why that's a bad excuse. Because yes, like if a medication you're on isn't working at the time, the worst thing you can do is to just give up on medication altogether. What you should do is go to your psychiatrist, explain to them your situation, and then like help him to help you find the right medication. It took me over 10 years before I found the right medication. You know what? I'm glad that I didn't give up because my stability was worth working towards. So
Yeah.
just because a medication that you're on right now doesn't work, don't just give up. Like, work with your psychiatrist to find the right medication, and by God's grace, it won't take you over 10 years to find the right medication.
Right. Yeah, you got to be upfront, open, and honest because I was very silent with my situation for a while, and I was getting undiagnosed and improper medication for a long time. So,
Yeah, you have to be honest with your psychiatrist. Tell them everything. Don't hide anything from them. And if you're honest with them, they'll know how to help you.
yeah.
In fact, it was just kind of funny because I was I was confused. Confusion was a symptom that I had from schizophrenia, and then one of the side effects of the med I was taking was confusion. So I was confused while on the med. So I chose to abandon it for that reason because it was just it was a
He was confused while on the medication, and then that's why he chose to abandon the medication. Like, why didn't like it didn't dawn on him if he didn't like the symptoms he was experiencing on the medication, why didn't he think, well, let me talk to the psychiatrist, let me try a different medication? I don't understand that thinking, like, oh, one medication didn't work, so I'm just going to give up on all medication. That would be like if someone with diabetes said, oh, this diabetes medication didn't work for me, so I'm just going to give up on all diabetes medication. You know how dangerous that would be for a diabetic to say that?
It's a death sentence.
Exactly.
a funny thought to me, and I just tossed it. And but I didn't do so simply for that reason. I did so also because I had a plan, and I had the understanding that what I was up against wasn't the reality that I thought it was. And I know because it wasn't, I knew how to handle it. And this is where maybe a lot of people get into trouble when they stop their medication, was that they aren't sold on the idea, the thought that these aren't real enough. And so they allow it to overwhelm them. Right?
I'm not entirely sure where he's getting at. Do you understand what he's saying?
I think he's thinking the voices and hallucinations. You think they're they're not a figment of your imagination, rather than they are reality in some way, and that's a mistake, I guess.
Well, if that's what he's saying, then that tells me that he's still delusional. Yeah.
Because of my knowledge and my understanding, it wasn't able to overwhelm me, and I understood that there's rules to this game. Right? There are rules to it. And I was able to use that to my advantage. So once we know what we're up against and we know what the destination is, we can start crafting a plan to overcome that obstacle and get to that destination. Right? So you're going to say, what is the destination? Well, where do you want to go to? Right? If you are having, let's say, that the thought broadcasting these other symptoms, and so you want those to disappear, right? So the destination is more like a peaceful mind, away from all of this, right? You know where you want to go, away from all this. these are the things that are in your way. So how do we get around them? How do we overcome this obstacle in order to reach this destination? Now, these symptoms, they produce something, right? They're not there just for nothing. There is, if you have, let's say, and I never had this by itself, but let's say somebody has just the uncontrollable thoughts by itself, right? Controllable thoughts, they speaking all kinds of things that you don't want to hear. That stuff would be annoying, right? It'd be annoying, and depends on what it's saying. It might be a little bit makes you anxious, makes you fearful, but it's not. But it's localized just to your mind, right? So that alone.
Is this guy making any sense to you?
He's kind of babbling on about nothing, really.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting. Like, he's not. I don't know where he's getting at.
He keeps like saying what the plan, how to like plan out for this, but he keeps like not saying what you're supposed to do. He's been saying that for like minutes,
Yeah, I know. Like, I'm like, what's your point?
Get to the meat, pal.
Lessens the depth of anxiety and the fear and all that. But if you couple that with thought broadcasting.
Harold Jaffe Jewelers in Toledo is going out of business. Jeff Jaffe is retiring. Feature this.
It creates an even bigger fear, bigger anxiety, right? And all of this.
I'm gonna fast forward this because I want to.
You don't want to go to the flames, so you don't want to get burned, so you pull away. But into the flame is where you need to go.
What?
Into the fire is what you're looking for is in the middle of it, but it's so hot.
What'd you say?
This doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, no, it's like he obviously did, like the title of this video is "How I Got Beyond Schizophrenia Symptoms," but it seems like he's still dealing with like disorganized thinking.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like he's all over the place.
Yeah. You can't go. It pushes you back. But if you can just recognize and withstand that heat, recognize the heat is only going to burn you so much. And if you can withstand it and keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and when you get into the center of it, you realize it's not burning you. It's just puts up this heat there to push you away. But the trick
is he saying to embrace your hallucinations and your symptoms? Is that what he's saying?
That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
Like
he could have said that in one sentence, but whatever.
Yeah. Like embrace your hallucinations. Like I don't understand why you would ever want to do that. That's like telling a cancer patient, "Oh, just embrace your cancer."
Yeah, that reminds me when Russell Crowe on South Park was fighting cancer, so he found a guy with cancer, started punching his cancer, and it really hurt the patient.
That's funny.
Treasure that you're after is in the middle, and as long as you stay away from it, you'll never recover what you're after. So you have to go there. The very place that you don't want to go is where you need to be. And that's what Jordan Peterson, when he's talking about this dragon, that's exactly right. Because the dragon is the keeper, the guard, right? I'm not sure I don't recall if that's what he had it as. But anyways, it was something that you need to attend to and to overcome before it, brings destruction with it in your life, right? But the way I see it, and when it comes to mental illness, is this dragon it can't listen. It comes to your village already. It burnt the whole thing already. And then after that, an invading army came and captured you, right? So now you manage, let's say, to slip away from the invading army, you slip away from the capture, you come back to your village, the whole thing is laid waste, burnt to the crisp, nothing is standing, you're looking there, walls are done, everything is done, right? Now, you're not safe. This army is going to come back. You figure.
Can you imagine
missing,
someone suffering from, can you imagine someone suffering from schizophrenia looking for answers and they find this video and they're just watching it, trying to wait for them to give them an answer and like, you know, like
Yeah. Yeah, he's like talking. He's like not making any sense whatsoever.
talking about an army and flames and a dragon. I mean, like, what?
Yeah, it's like, what is your point?
They might want to come looking for you, and you don't know who else going to be coming through this. So you got to get things built up. You got work to do. You're not safe. You're exposed, whatever, right? But the dragon also is a threat. If you're going to build back up, this thing is over here anyways, and it's going to come back and do what it did. And also, that thing took things that belong to you. Very precious things that you need.
So I'm assuming in this analogy, the dragon is schizophrenia.
Yeah,
and
right.
He's saying that your schizophrenia took things that belong to you, like things that you hold dear. And okay, I got that part of the analogy, but like, so what? I guess he's gonna say that you need to do something to the dragon or embrace the dragon or something along those lines.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at right now. I'm kind of wondering what he's gonna say.
Yeah. In order to rebuild. It's a very intelligent dragon. Right? So he captured some of your stuff that you need in order to rebuild. So you have no choice. You have no, either you live in ruin or you go to that lair of that dragon. That's what you got to do. You know, you look to the rebels, you find a little sword, you know where the dragon's lair is, you got to go to the lair, right? And so the dragon now is all these things we're talking about, these symptoms. So my mom now was also pretty much representative in some way of this dragon, right? Or a dragon.
Wait. His mom is representative. I thought the dragon was schizophrenia.
I'm lost now.
Yeah. What? Hold on. I just
move on, please. We can't do this anymore.
Yeah. I'm done. Yeah. Like I yeah. I just wow. Like, all right.
That was a special one.
That was a special one.
Usually they say like, "Oh, I'm feeling great now," but he was like saying, "Slay the dragon." Who's your mother or whatever he was saying.
Like, I don't know where he was going with that whatsoever. Like, that's just ridiculous.
Oh, he doesn't need medication. Clearly, no.
Exactly. He clearly needs to be back on his medication. Let this be a lesson. Those of you out there who struggle with schizophrenia or bipolar or any kind of mental illness, do not go off your medication. Really don't. I personally believe that God has blessed mental health professionals with knowledge to understand and know how to treat mental illnesses. So you don't have to be afraid to see a mental health professional. There's no shame in that. There's nothing wrong with that. You could trust your mental health professionals to know how to treat you. And if you don't like the medication they have you on, try a different medication and don't give up. Your mental stability is worth the work that you need to put in for it.
in centuries past, mentally ill people would have loved a system like psychology. So give it a chance.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. The next video is by our boy Ruslan. Like, I think you'll like this one, Joe. Hold on. All right. Do you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me if you can hear it.
Satanic
Can you hear
ritual
it?
for
Yeah.
Okay.
terminating unwanted babies. This might be the most satanic thing I've ever seen. With a mission statement that says they empower young women to be who they are and want to be. And their focus is to propel them into their fun and fearless future. That's really
This is sick. Like,
it doesn't surprise me though.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me either. I mean,
they're starting to censor Christians and Christianity and get Jesus out of the public square, and now they're starting to embrace Satanism publicly.
Exactly.
But this should be expected, though.
In a lot of public high schools, they're starting to have after-school Satan programs.
Yeah.
I always knew the world was under the sway of the devil, but now it's like the world is outright expressing their Satanism.
Yeah.
Really their mission. That's really their mission statement. What you're about to see happening and ushered in and celebrated by Cosmopolitan is when Satan's agenda isn't just something that happens behind the scenes in the highways of byways of life. This is when Satanism goes mainstream. Several days on Instagram, Cosmopolitan posted this. How does a satanic termination of baby ceremony even work?
I want to say, I don't care what YouTube says to me. We're going to say abortion. We're not going to call it baby deletion or anything like that.
Okay.
We're going to get into the details of this, but first, let me show you their initial post from over a week ago. That's right. They have 2 posts about satanic deletions of babies that says a satanic deletion clinic may sound like clickbait, but it's really happening in New Mexico. No.
A satanic abortion clinic like that. So I wonder how a satanic abortion clinic is any different than a regular abortion clinic.
I think a regular abortion clinic is strictly medical, so to speak, but a satanic is like a spiritual, like a sacrifice.
What are they gonna do? Like, you're gonna walk in, the girl's gonna walk into the abortion clinic, and they're gonna have it. It's gonna be in a dark room with candles lit around a pentagram.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's wild.
We're not trolling you. This is the caption. There's a telehealth clinic providing legitimate deletion of baby care ran by members of the Satanic Temple. I find it interesting why members of the Satanic Temple would have so much vested interest in the deletion of babies.
This actually reminds me of one time when I was younger. I was in juvenile detention. I read this book. It was called Confessions of a Former Satanist. And it was about this Satanist that became a Christian. And he talked about in the book how when he was a Satanist, he used to meet with his other satanic buddies in the middle of the night in like a dark alley. And they would perform a ritual where they will sacrifice babies to the devil.
Wow.
Yeah. And now, fast forward all the way to this time, now it's like these Satanists, now they used to do it in back alleys, now they're doing it out in the open in abortion clinics.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Yeah, this world is getting crazy.
Anyway, and they're designed a devilishly smart legal strategy that might just help them expand into states where deletion of babies is basically banned. Learn more about it at the link in bio. They dropped the link in bio. They want you to know that this is something that they're going to tell you about, they're going to promote about, they are campaigning for. And by the way, the comments are not with them. Their own community is kind of roasting them for these posts. Human sacrifice at the cost of innocent lives, normalizing and glorifying satanic temple. Wow.
That's something I actually think that is a good sign of where we're at, that there are people in their own community aren't even going for this.
Good.
Like that's the only positive side to this story, is that even people on the left are seeing this as too crazy. And if people on the left think that something on their own side is too crazy, then that should tell you something.
Even though the left's morals have diminished quite exceedingly in the past 10 years, the law is still written on their hearts. God's law, that is.
Exactly. That's Romans chapter 2.
Low reminds me of how old school witches eating babies lore came from women's health practitioners who were performing secret deletion of babies called witches. Their comments just ate them up. And by the way, the Cosmopolitan is a massive Instagram page, and this has 6,000 likes on a channel with 4 million followers, right? Very, they're getting ratioed. And this next post, this is the most current one, is even worse. It's only 3,000. I mean, listen, I get 3,000 likes on like a throwaway post on Instagram. I have like 100,000 followers, okay? So this is like, their audience isn't with this. But let's read this here before we get into the particulars. This is a story about what it's like to have a deletion of baby ceremony, and by a 37-year-old who received this clinic via Samuel Alito's mom's satanic clinic. The experience was just very supportive. While she's not a Satanist, she decided to incorporate a few ceremonial elements into her solo deletion of baby experience.
Wait.
Why not?
Ceremonial elements? I was just joking when I said, what are they going to have when you go into these abortion clinics? They're going to have a pentagram and candles lit. I was just joking.
I had a feeling that's what the difference was. Something.
Yeah. Wow. Like that. Are they gonna have like Ouija boards out too? That's crazy.
She thought
they're gonna have the right before they do the abortion on the woman. She has to play with the Ouija board and get her fortune told, and like that's.
Play with gems and stones.
Just clicked with her.
Yeah.
Read more about it at the link in the bio. Okay, so I got a Bible verse that's going to beautifully summarize all this, but let's just go through this. Okay. Viewer discretion is advised, and you may puke after hearing some of this, but let's just check it out. Okay. Patients of all faiths. No. Okay.
Patients of all faiths.
Not all faiths. Okay. Patients
First off, they said patients of all faiths, but like, you really think a true Christian is going to want anything to do with this? They're just saying patients of all faiths to try and be inclusive, but I don't think any
not the kind of Christian we're accustomed to, but the Bible describes them as lukewarm, and I can see a lukewarm Christian going for this crap.
Yeah, maybe one of those coexist progressive Christians going for this, but like, I don't like the Bible says, what fellowship does light have with darkness? So no, there's not going to be true Christians falling for this crap.
Right.
No faith or little faith, okay? Or self-faith or Satanistic faith. Not all faiths. Let's not do that, okay? Of all faiths, welcome at Samuel Alito's mom's satanic baby deletion clinic in New Mexico, along with medical counsel. TST offers a free ceremonial support to everyone. Deletion of baby ceremonies are totally optional and customizable.
I find it kind of weird how the guy that started it, or it's named after a Mexican guy. Aren't most Mexicans Catholics?
There's always exceptions.
Yeah, but I'm like, this guy.
Well, I know in the cartel world they pray to like a Grim Reaper type of god or something like that. So who knows?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
One sample TST. First, you got the upside down cross, of course. First, find a quiet space. Bring a mirror if you can. All right. So out the rip,
Hi, I'm Candace, and Christmas is coming to Great American Pureflix.
mirroring and making this about you, right? This is self-glorification. This is self-worship. This is idolatry at its finest. You're worshiping yourself. Your right to self-actualization instead of
Let me see this. First, find a quiet space. Bring a mirror if you can. Just before taking the medication, gaze at your reflection and focus on your personhood. Hone in on your intent and your responsibilities. This reminds me of the psychology. Abraham Maslow came up with the pyramid of needs, where and at the top of the pyramid is self-actualization, where you like look at yourself, like you that is basically what Ruslan just said, is self-idol worship. You're worshiping yourself.
Yeah.
Like that, like this actually like this fits in right in with what we were talking about earlier, narcissism. Like this is like breeding ground for narcissists.
Yeah, where you don't think about your baby, you think about your so-called right.
Exactly. Like your so-called self-love and taking care of yourself and focusing on yourself. Like, this is sad.
Dealing with the cause and effect reality that we deal with for those of us who...
This is a perfect example of how self-love can easily turn into pride and idolatry, or pride and narcissism.
Yeah.
Engage in intimacy in this way, right? Just before taking the medication. So this is a pill form that they take to delete this baby. Gaze at your reflection and focus on your personhood. Home in on your intent.
It's kind of ironic that right there it says focus on your personhood. What about the personhood of the baby?
Right.
Like,
exactly. What choice does the baby get? I'm sure
I guess the baby's personhood is irrelevant when you want to just care about yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Responsibility to you.
This is a sickness of the highest order.
Take a few deep, relaxing breaths. When you're ready, read the following tenet out loud. One's body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone. Take the medication and immediately afterward recite. Beliefs should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world. This is such hogwash. Scientific understanding of the world. Forget the scientific understanding of there being unique human DNA in there. Forget the scientific understanding that is a baby.
Like, they don't, like, these people don't care about science. And actually, I've heard that most Satanists are basically atheists. So again, atheists don't care about science. If they did care about science, they would actually understand that that baby is a human being at conception.
Right.
But no, it's all about, we just got to care about ourselves. Like,
I said, they just change words. Like they go, it's just a clump of flesh. It's a baby when I decide in it is. And, that's a free range to kill it whenever you want to.
Yeah, exactly. Like that phrase right there, one's body is inviolable, is subject to one's own will alone. What about the baby's body? Like, so the baby's body is subject to your own selfish desires?
Yeah, and more in cases more often than not, obviously, it's the baby's life on the line, not the right of the woman, so to speak. Her life is not on the line here. It's just that she's not going to be able to go to the club or go to the bar anymore. She's going to have to spend some of her money on the baby. That's what's the issue is. It's not, so.
Yeah, exactly.
No, we are going to say it's of one's own admission or whatever it is they're trying to say. One should never care to distort scientific facts to fit one's belief. Later, once the procedure is complete, return to your reflection. Oh my gosh, this is so disgusting. Focus again on your personhood, your power in making this decision. Complete the ritual by reciting a personal affirmation. By my body, my blood, by my will, it is done. This
is blasphemy.
Yeah.
Like they're basically self-deifying. They're making themselves God.
Yeah. It's disgusting.
Like, this is ridiculous. It is disgusting. Like, it's like my body, my blood, by my will, it is done. That, like, no, it is ridiculous. Like they're basically taking the words of Christ when he prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane, "Not my will, but Thy will be done." Like,
Yeah.
and they're flipping it, making it like, "Oh, I'm the God of my own universe, so it's my will, and that's gonna be done."
You know, it's funny. It's just these people who make homages to Satan and worship him and whatnot. Satan laughs at people who worship him. Satan
Yeah,
laughs. He doesn't care about you.
exactly.
They've turned this into my body, my choice mantra, right? My will, instead of the Lord's Prayer, which says, "Let your kingdom, your will be done as it is in heaven." This positions the individual as God. If you think about it, if you really think about what this is saying, you are your own God. That's the whole point of this. Mirror or mantras or not. TST's point is that your deletion of a baby should focus on your autonomy and making this decision. Autonomy here is the North Star. It is the guiding pathway. Autonomy and the second equal value is not love, is not respect, is not delaying gratification, is not
This
making better
actually
decisions.
reminds me one time I watched a debate between Matt Dillahunty and this other atheist about abortion, and Matt Dillahunty, he was willing to grant that the baby is a human being at conception, but he was saying no child has the right to force a woman to give them birth or something like that. He was talking about a woman is autonomous from her child, and she has a right to choose not to give birth to her baby. That is completely, like, this whole bodily autonomy argument is the height of selfishness.
Right. Exactly.
And narcissism.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is not wisdom, it is consent. So if you consented and you have bodily autonomy, that's the North Star. Patience can include as many loved ones as they'd like, or light candles, or even dress up, whatever makes them.
So now they could get their family and loved ones to watch the abortion. Like, if I had a family member that wanted me to watch their satanic abortion, I would
I
not
would
go.
probably never see them ever again.
Exactly. I would never want to see them ever again. That's ridiculous.
This is a sickness.
Yeah.
Of
So
the highest order.
again, arguably the most satanic thing I've ever seen. I find it very alarming that the Church of Satan is so adamant about the deletion of babies to the point where they're participating.
All right. That's enough of that. What do you think of that?
It was pretty sad.
I know it is pretty sad. Sick.
No.
All right. This next video is this one's pretty sad too. This is depressing. But here we go. Can you see the video?
Yes.
Okay. Let me know if you can hear it.
I'm like really alone. Like I'm
You hear it? Yes.
Okay.
I'm really fucking lonely. I don't know. I just want to come out here and I want to talk, say something, do something before I feel like I'm going to lose my fucking mind. I guess I'm trying to get away from all this shit, but you can't. It's impossible. You have to be around people. Yet people fucking suck. People don't care about you. If you're a little weird or you're a little awkward, people fucking hate you. They don't want to be around you. And they don't care about any of your issues or how you feel whatsoever. That's the truth. I'm just tired
Okay,
of
right
that.
off the bat, my heart goes out to this guy. Like, I understand where he's coming from, because it does. When you look at the world, secular people don't care about each other. Like, secular people are very narcissistic. They're only out for number one, and they don't care who they have to walk on in order to get their success.
Yeah, I feel like I felt like this guy in my past previously, and I've watched a great deal of this video, and I know what he's going through, but there is hope at the end of the day, and I'll get more into that later.
Yeah, there's hope in Christ, and when you come to Christ, like, and you get part of a good church community, like, your depression, like, it won't completely take away your depression, but you will have hope in the midst of your depression.
Right.
Feeling this way, you know, like I'm stuck, I'm trapped, I'm bored. There's nothing to do. Everything about life has to do with other people, and I don't want to be around other people anymore, because all it is disappointment every time.
I actually do feel him on this, because there's times when, like, I see all this evil crap in the world and that's going on. I sometimes feel like I don't want to be around people too, because secular people are disgusting.
Yeah.
It's like they want you to be a certain way, but I can't be that way. I feel like I'm not supposed to be a part of this society. I don't fit in it. It's like really fucking irritating, man. I want to just drive away. Like, I'm here in the back of the parking lot and I just want to be by myself. This is like the most peaceful for me. To just be on my own, just away from people. Just, you know, I try so hard to try and be normal, to be kind to others, to try and just fit in and create like relationships, but it's like impossible. I don't know, people just, if they don't like you, they don't like you. And it is what it is, you know? That's life. Life is bullshit. If you were born a certain way, like, there's nothing you can do about it. And like, that'll always be a negative on you. It's easier for other people and it'll be harder for you.
I disagree with
like
that.
Most of life
I disagree with that. I disagree with that. If you're depending on your circumstances, yeah, life will be very rough for you, but there is a way out. Jesus Christ.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ will get you out of this situation, I'm telling you, because once you become saved and you start studying more and you start having more fellowship and you start going to church more and you start meeting more Christians and stuff, the Christians I know in my life are not this way. They're not the type of people that they edify me. They let me, they make me feel good about myself, you know, and like, you know, whether it's my friends online or it's my Christian friends in person, they make me feel good about myself because they really genuinely like how I am and how I'm thinking and stuff. But the way this guy describes people, this is how secular people roll. This is how people, worldly people, I should say, roll. Because like when you're worldly and secular, you're just gonna be a narcissistic person, basically, like we discussed earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Like my heart goes out to this guy. I like you said, I've been where he's at too. Like, I've been down in the dumps and I felt like people were just crummy people. But once I became saved and I surrounded myself with good, godly men and women, my depression subsided because I started to realize, you know what, I'm in a brotherhood and I'm part of the family of God and we care for one another and we carry each other's burdens. And does this mean that Christians do that perfectly? No, you can always find self-centered Christians out there. But for the most part, the Christian community is very loving, very caring, and we help one another. And like this guy, like he's talking as someone who has no hope, but if he would just put his faith in Christ, he would see that things can get better.
Amen.
I really hope that, when was this video made? Let me see. 4 months ago. I really hope that this guy is still alive.
Yeah.
Decided from the moment you're born, depending on what location you're in, what kind of people are around you in the neighborhood you grew up in, what kind of family you have. All of that is decided from the moment you're born and will impact everything else in your life. So if you had a fucked up family life, it's too late. Like, that already has a big effect on you, and you're going to use the rest of your life to try and fucking counteract all that bullshit that happened to you. Like, it's really all about luck in that way. But life is bullshit. That's what it is. Life is bullshit, and no matter how hard I cry or fucking complain about it, it's not going to change, right? This is just reality. I can dream about it. I can daydream all day about something better, but, like, this is reality. So I have to make what I can of it, right? Because we're all going to fucking die someday anyways.
You know what? You know who he sounds like? He sounds like me when I was younger and I just had my heart broken by some girl. Cause when I went through periods like that, I would talk just like this guy's talking right now.
Right. Yeah, you look at everything in a negative lens.
Yes, and it's like this is what happens when you idolize people. Like, because when I was younger, I used to idolize relationships or other people. And when they would let me down, I'd become very depressed. This is why God said, do not have any idols before him. God should be our supreme love. Like, we shouldn't love anything
Yeah.
more than God because God is ultimately the only thing that can fill the void in our hearts.
Right.
So I just have to make what good I can of it, like whatever I can get out of this life. And whether it's making stupid videos, and I know no one's going to watch this, no one's going to give a fuck or care about this.
Let's see. Hold on. He said nobody's going to watch this video. This video has this video has 168,000 views. So
yeah, I bet he has a girlfriend already.
Yeah.
I'm still just going to put this up and hope someone can relate. I feel like no one gives a shit or cares about the problems I have or can relate to them. I want to try and do something where I put it online and I hope that people can listen and at least relate a little bit, that someone has these same issues. You know, I don't really love anyone in this world. I'm like really alone. Like I'm really fucking lonely. Like to a devastating extent. Like I'm such a loner. Like it's just my whole life. That's all I'm used to is being by myself. And I want to connect to someone. To me, like the thought of being close to someone almost seems like a faraway dream. Like it doesn't even seem like something that's real. Yet it's so normal for other people. Yet for me,
this kind of reminds me of a mutual friend that we both know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like
yeah, kind of on the soft side, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know, I feel bad for this guy, but you know, at the same time, he is whining a little bit. I mean, you know, life isn't that bad. I mean, you know,
yeah,
it's just, you know, in his circumstance, though, he needs to find Jesus Christ. He really does.
He really does. Like life isn't that bad. Well, I don't like if he feels like he's lonely and he doesn't have anybody that loves him or that he loves. My thing is, has he tried putting himself out there to meet people, to get to know people? Like there's if he's not religious, if he's not Christian, then he can at least go to like a support group or go like I mean, number one, he should come to faith in Christ and get part of a church community. But even if he doesn't come to faith in Christ, there's other avenues. He can go to like a support group and meet people there, or he can go to the library and be like there's different things he can do to help himself out. Like he can get out there. If he wants to get out there, bare minimum, if he wants to get out there and just go up to people and just say hi, how are you, and talk to them and just develop a friendship, I'm pretty sure that'll make him feel a whole lot better.
Right.
Me to be close to someone, it
But
just
at
seems
the
like
same time, I find it very hard to believe that he doesn't have anyone in his life. Like I know when you're depressed, you tend to think that you're all alone, but in reality, because I know when I was depressed, I thought I was all alone, like too. But in reality, I did have people in my life. So, like, he probably feels like he's alone, but I'm pretty sure he has people in his life that care about him.
Yeah.
something so far off that I could never do. You know? And I don't know how I'm supposed to fix that. It's like, I was born a little weird, I guess. I don't know, I have Asperger's.
This actually reminds me of a video I saw like many years ago. Have you ever heard of a guy named Elliot Rogers?
No.
He was this guy. He did a video very similar to this, like except he did this rant in his car where he was talking about how women only go for jerks and they never go for the good guy, and he was basically saying he's the nice guy and women don't like him and they always go for the a-holes, and then like
the
he
type of
just
women he's attracted to, but maybe he needs to lower his
well,
standards a
well,
little
what
bit.
happened was the day after he made that video, he went out. I think this was actually in Arizona. It was at Arizona State University. He went out and shot a bunch of girls in a sorority and killed them all.
Wow.
And yeah, like what this video reminds me a lot of that Elliot Rogers video.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, like. I mean, I hope that this guy doesn't do anything like that. I mean, I don't think he will. I mean, like, but I really hope he finds Christ instead of resorting to something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, but I don't really know how to connect with anyone in a real way. Shit fucking bites at me, you know? I didn't do anything to deserve to be like this, but I'm just like that, I guess. And I'm going to make this video and no one's going to care either. But I just have to like keep trying, I guess. And hope at some point it gets better, but I don't know if it ever does. Or you just learn to live with it. You know? I guess it's a combination of things. Like I'm tired of being alone, but I'm also just tired of like life in the world itself. I'm just in my room and I keep thinking all the time, and I wish that there was more to this life. I wish it was better, but like that's reality, and I hate reality right now.
See, okay, number one, he obviously this guy spends a lot of alone time, and this is why isolation is so detrimental to mental health. Like when you are dealing with mental health issues, the worst thing you can do is isolate, because then you get all like I know me personally, when I'm depressed, it does not work for me to be alone, because then I get caught up in my own thoughts and I start to dwell on things I shouldn't be dwelling on. And like this guy needs to get out of his house and like socialize with people. Like and him saying he wonders if there's like he doesn't think there's anything more to this life. There is more to this life. If he would put his faith in Christ, he will have eternal life.
Yeah.
All I find myself doing is wishing that things were different, that things were better. But like this is just the cold reality right now, and I don't like it at all. And it's been like this for years, and I don't see it changing. And I try and change it, and it doesn't. Like I try and take matters into my own hands, right? It's my own responsibility, and I want to do things better. I've started to be more productive, but like nothing changes. I've put myself out there to try and talk to people, but it doesn't work. Like,
so he has tried putting himself out there to talk, but then like I get the feeling that he hasn't, like he'll put himself out there a little bit, and then as soon as he faces rejection, he falls back into his depressed, isolating self again.
I think he's surrounding himself with the wrong people.
That too, yeah, he's surrounding himself with the wrong people. Like it says in the Bible, bad company corrupts good character. So if he's surrounding himself with bad people, then of course he's gonna feel this way.
Yeah.
Meant to be like this. But I hope I share this video and someone relates to it. Someone can talk to me about this shit and tell me like, yeah, dude, I feel you, man. Like I've experienced this too. I
will say this, like if this guy ever sees this live stream, I want to let you know there are people that care about you, and if you ever want to get some peer support, go to www.christcenteredmentalhealth.net, click on the peer support tab, and you can either call me or you can contact one of the people on my ministry team, and we would love to talk to you.
Amen.
I feel like no one's gonna fucking care. This isn't gonna reach anyone realistically. I say that as I hope that it does, but realistically it probably won't. Your dreams are one thing, reality's another thing. And that sucks to realize. That really sucks. you know, like when you watch a TV show, play a video game or something like that, like it's like a great adventure. You know, there's a plot to it. There's a character goes through a problem, they change, and the problem is fixed, and that's not real life. Real life, there's a problem, you try your best to fix it, and you don't know if the problem's gonna solve it. It probably won't. You know, you probably just get the bad ending. Your whole life is just a bad ending, and there's not much you can do about it. It feels like. I wish I could have lived a normal life. I wish I could have lived a normal life, I think.
It seems like to me he thinks that he has this mentality that if he lived a different life, somehow he'd be happier. But the thing is, life is what you make of it. Like,
Amen.
if you don't like the life that you're living right now, make some changes. Like,
Amen.
if you like, it's like life is what you make of it. You don't have to be stuck in this rut if you don't want to be stuck in it.
Right.
I don't know. Everything's always been so weird. Life feels so strange. I wish I could have just been normal, lived a normal fucking life. But like from the time I was a small child, I had behavioral issues, I had family issues. Everything was just strange. I've never fit in. Like, I was just born to live a weird fucking life like this. It's tiring, man. It's really tiring, and most people don't get it. But I'll finish off with this message: is that life is absolute bullshit, but you should have to accept that and try and do whatever good you can do before you die, because we're all gonna die someday anyways. We're all gonna fucking die. Don't worry, it's gonna come. If you want to die, don't kill yourself. Just wait, because you're gonna fucking die. Just try and get what good you can out of it, especially while you're young. And that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try and share this so that anyone else that's struggling, I really fucking hope that I can try and reach you and tell you that, like, hey man, we just gotta try, you know? We gotta keep trying and hope things get better. Maybe someday it'll give. And that's what I want to do.
I was just thinking, like, that mentality that he has, like, life is just crap, and you just, like, life is just crap, and then you die, and then all you can do is just try and do good, as much good as you. That's the typical atheist mindset, and that's basically the only hope that an atheist can offer. Like, an atheist hope is actually no hope at all. Like,
yeah.
Like,
I think he eats too much Asperger's. I'm just joking.
No, that's messed up.
I'm just.
I think I'm gonna make a lot of videos and stuff talking about things like this, and just try and make someone's day better that struggles with the same stuff. There's so much more I want to say, but
that's pretty much over. Yeah, that's depressing.
Yeah, like, I feel for the guy. I do. I feel for the guy. I can relate to. I was in that boat myself, but the biggest key was definitely Jesus Christ, getting mental health awareness, getting fellowship, and seeing my family and friends, and seeing how they're doing. That's always a big plus too, So there's good things in life.
There's good, exactly. Like, I hope that guy does come to faith in Christ. Like, I really do. So this last video is a news story that comes from your own backyard, Joe.
Oh yeah.
It comes from your own backyard in Glendale.
Yeah, you know what? Before you start,
pretty
what?
The newscaster in this video, because I watched this video a little bit before we broadcasted, and
yeah,
I actually met him.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, the guy in the suit that's coming on later, that's in front of the desk. I've met him before.
Where at?
At Safeway. When I worked at Safeway, he would come in and buy wine, like expensive wine there a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Out on that speaker so I could see where, this could agitate someone.
And,
And I
another
think
interesting thing. Right before we went live, you were telling me how you were in this area at the time that this happened.
It's a possibility because I don't know exactly what day this happened, but I was in that area, and there was police officers clearing the streets so that a man in an ambulance could get to the hospital quickly. And there was a lot of ruckus going around, and I don't know if it was related or not, but it's a possibility.
Yeah.
that's basically what happened.
A man shot while preaching on a street corner in Glendale. And tonight, police are looking for leads in this case as that man fights for his life.
This is crazy. So basically, a street preacher, and from what my pastor told us, he was a charismatic street preacher that got shot in Glendale. Like, I'm telling you, Joe, persecution is coming for Christians.
Yeah, but Jesus warns about that, and the fact that he does warn about that and this religion thrived anyways proves that it's true.
Exactly. Like, the church is strongest under persecution.
Amen.
Northwest corner of 51st Avenue in Peoria last night outside the Victory Chapel First Phoenix. That's the church that the victim attends.
And officers evacuated several businesses in that complex. Fox 10's Lindsay Regas spoke to the owner of a nearby store about what happened. Lindsay.
Mark and Ellen, this happened around 6 p.m. last night. Now, businesses in that area, they all got a knock on their door from police telling them they need to leave immediately, including the owner of a comic book store.
Wow.
Just imagine, serious.
Yeah, now that I know that it was 51st in Peoria, I was like 1 mile away from there. Like, I was on Olive and 51st and 51st and Olive, and Peoria is just 1 mile down the street from there.
Wow, that's crazy. Like, so you could have possibly been a witness to this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, my eyesight doesn't go a mile.
Was in the middle of the
Hey, we have a crime scene in the corner, so we're shutting down the entire parking lot. Okay. So if you need to get out of here, probably be best to get out of here as soon as possible. Okay. And just get out that way. Okay. Thanks.
He lets his subscribers know he's stepping away.
All right, nothing like 3 cops at your door. Wow. Okay, so I'm then going to move my car, folks. I will be right back because there's a shooting down the street and I won't be able to get out of the complex. So hang out for about 3 minutes. I will be right back. So when I came out, they had changed the whole traffic. So the whole traffic was only down to 1 lane going through the complex.
The next day, James learned what happened. Glendale police say a man was found with a life-threatening gunshot wound.
It was something where they preach so much on this corner and it's such a congested area. I always thought they might get hit by a car.
This is evidence that the world hates Christians. Like, Christians are like, the LGBT community is not the most hated group. The LGBT community is the most privileged group because everybody loves them. Christians are the true Bible-believing Christians are the most hated group of people in the world. Yeah. Because we have the truth and people don't like the truth.
Yeah, we speak the truth in a world that's full of delusions and they can't handle that.
Exactly.
They would be shot.
After the shooting, James says he's going to be more aware of his surroundings.
After tonight, I think we just need to take those extra steps, closing at the right time, making sure at nighttime we have extra people on the floor. Just be aware of our surroundings a little bit more.
Glendale police say they are still investigating. Now, they're not releasing any other details at this time, and
they're still investigating. They don't even know who the guy is that shot this street preacher. I bet you $1 million.
If it was on a street corner, shouldn't it be on camera?
Exactly. I bet you $1 million that if this was an LGBT person that got shot, they would have already had the person in custody. But since it was a Christian that got shot, they're just dragging their feet.
Yeah, most likely.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Like, they're not gonna work hard to try and find out who shot the Christian, but if like a black person got shot or LGBT person got shot or even a Hispanic person got shot, they would have already found the killer.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. Like, well, like I said, persecution's coming, and I'm ready. If I have to be
Bring it
persecuted,
on.
if I have to be persecuted
I
for the
ain't
name of
scared.
Christ, if I have to be persecuted for the name of Christ, I would consider it an honor.
Yeah, like, if I get raptured or something like that, hallelujah. But I'm expecting to get killed for Christ in the future, actually.
Exactly. Like, it'll be an honor to be killed for Christ.
You go to heaven afterward. What's the worst that can happen to you?
Exactly.
Like, you wouldn't be in this situation unless you were saved, right? So don't worry about it so much. You're going to like paradise afterward.
Exactly. Well, that was the last of the videos. Like, is there anything pressing that you want to talk about?
I just have one quick word. Happy holidays and Thanksgiving to the people out there, and and then to my mother that's possibly watching. Happy Thanksgiving, and I'll probably see you around Christmas time.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, happy Turkey Day, everyone. And I want to thank you, Joe, for joining me on this episode of Christian Schizo Rant. I want to thank the viewers for watching this live stream. And I want to thank the viewers who are going to watch the playback to this live stream. And please leave a like on this video and comment below. Let us know what you guys think about this video. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please subscribe. We do this Christian Schizo Rant show every week on Wednesday, usually at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, we just talk about different issues concerning faith and mental health. So we'll be looking forward to seeing more viewers next week. And if you've been blessed by the Christ Center Mental Health Ministry, please consider supporting the ministry either via Patreon, Venmo, or Cash App. You can find it on the website www.christcentermentalhealth.net. And if you make a pledge of at least $5 or more on Patreon, or if you donate a one-time donation of $10 or more on Cash App or Venmo, I'll send you some of my books that I've written as a way of saying thank you for supporting the ministry. All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching this. Thank you, Joe, again, for joining this stream. Have a good night, everyone. God bless you and stay strong in the Lord. All right. Bye.
God bless.